Let us be honest, I liked her, but I didn't know how to show it. I first noticed her on a rainy Tuesday afternoon. She walked into the cafe, ordered a hot matcha latte, no sugar, and sat by the window. She wasn't flashy or loud, but something about her, the way she quietly smiled at the barista, the way she read her book like the rest of the world didn't exist, it just caught me. I didn't plan to notice her. But week after week, I found myself sitting a few tables away at the same time, hoping she'd show up. And she usually did. At some point, I realized I liked her, not in a dramatic, movie scene way. Just this gentle pull toward her presence. I wanted to talk to her, say hi, ask her about that book she always read, but I didn't, because every time I tried to imagine approaching her, my brain short-circuited. What if she's not interested? What if I make a fool of myself? What if she thinks I'm creepy? So I just smiled quietly, looked up when she walked past, pretended to scroll on my phone while stealing glances, and did absolutely nothing. That feeling of liking someone but being paralyzed by fear, it's a weird mix of hope and helplessness. And I kept wondering, does flirting actually work? Or is it just something confident people do to get attention? Then one day, I came across a quote by psychology writer Eric Barker. Flirting and signaling your availability is actually a better predictor of romantic connection than physical attractiveness. Wait, really? So it's not about being the hottest person in the room. It's about learning how to send the right signals. That changed everything. Maybe the problem wasn't that I wasn't good-looking or charming enough. Maybe it was that I was completely invisible because I never gave her a chance to see me. If you've ever felt like that, like there's someone you're interested in, but you don't know how to show it, this video is for you. Today I'll share 7 subtle and psychology-backed ways to flirt, ways that help me go from completely frozen to finally connecting. And if you've ever liked someone and done absolutely nothing about it, hit like and subscribe. You're not alone, I've been there too. Why do we hold back? The more I thought about it, the more I realized. It wasn't that I didn't want to connect. It was that I was terrified of being rejected. No one teaches you how to flirt. Most of us just wing it. We either copy what we see in movies or try to act cool and confident, even when we're shaking inside. I used to think flirting was this bold, flashy thing, a clever pickup line, a flirtatious smirk, an obvious, almost risky move. But I'm not that kind of guy. I overthink, I hesitate, I replay conversations in my head, so I convinced myself, maybe flirting just isn't for people like me. But here's what I didn't know then. According to Kelly Gonzalez, a sex educator and relationship coach, flirting isn't always loud or obvious. It's any subtle cue that says, "Hey, I find you interesting. I'd like to connect." It could be a glance, a smile, even the way you fix your hair or adjust your posture when someone walks into the room. And more surprisingly, psychology writer Eric Barker shared that these subtle signals are more effective at building romantic connection than physical attractiveness. That blew my mind. All this time, I thought people weren't interested in me, but maybe they just never got the signal that I was interested in them. And when there's no signal, no invitation, people assume the door's closed, even when it's wide open in your heart. So the problem wasn't that I couldn't flirt. The real problem, I didn't understand what flirting really is and how subtle it can be. Coming up next, I'll walk you through 7 ways that help me shift everything, each backed by psychological research, each subtle enough that even I, an overthinker with zero game, could pull it off. Ready? 7 subtle ways I learned to flirt backed by psychology. 1. Flirt with your face. Seriously. I used to think flirting meant saying something charming or clever, but then I noticed something. The girl I liked would sometimes tilt her head when we made eye contact, or smile while tucking her hair behind her ear. At first, I thought it was just coincidence, but then I read a study by psychologist Jeremy Nicholson. Turns out women often use facial expressions to flirt subtly, especially in situations where they don't feel comfortable making the first move. A soft smile, a downward tilt of the chin, a quick lip bite. Even a playful glance over the shoulder. These small gestures send a powerful signal, one that says, I'm open, and suddenly, I started paying attention to my own face too, to the slow smile, especially if you're a guy. I didn't realize this until I read Dr. Pamela Regan's work. But smiling, not just any smile, but a slow, genuine one, is one of the most effective universal flirting tools. It makes you look warm, calm, and interested, not forced, not try hard, just human, so I started practicing. Instead of my usual awkward grin, I tried this look, breathe, smile slowly, and honestly, it felt more real. More confident, more me, three glance and look away. There's this moment you catch someone's eye, then quickly look away. Turns out that's not you being awkward, that's psychology. In her book Close Relationships, Dr. Regan explains that brief glances signal preferential attention. In other words, I'm paying attention to you more than anyone else. So I started doing just that, not in a creepy, staring kind of way, just a glance, a pause. Then I let her notice I looked away. It said, I see you, I'm curious. Without ever saying a word, for featherlight touch. This one scared me at first. I mean, touch, that feels risky. I didn't want to cross any boundaries. But then I read Eric Barker's take on it. He said touch is one of the most effective, direct forms of flirting, if it's done respectfully, if it's subtle. So I started small, a light tap on the arm when laughing, a brush on the shoulder when passing by, moments so brief they could be accidental, but they weren't, and she noticed, not with words, but with a smile, with warmth, with a softening of her body language. 5. Care about how you look. I used to roll my eyes at this one. Look good to get attention, please, but I was wrong. Looking good isn't about showing off. It's about respect for yourself and for the person you want to connect with. I started paying attention. Fresh haircut, clean shirt, posture, not for approval, but for presence. Psychologist Nicholson explains that adjusting your appearance and body language is a physical way to flirt. You're signaling that you care about the moment, that you value being seen, and slowly I started to feel more confident, not because I looked different, but because I felt different. 6. Humor is magnetic. There was a moment I made her laugh. Nothing fancy, I just joked about how my laptop charger looked like it survived a war. She giggled, then we kept talking. That's when I learned about playful flirting. Dr. Nicholson writes that playful flirts aren't necessarily trying to start a relationship. They're just good at making people feel good, and sometimes that's enough, to let someone know you're safe, fun, curious, and possibly open to something more. 7. Be more you. The biggest lesson: don't try to be a flirty version of someone else. Don't follow scripts that don't feel like yours. According to dating coach Clara Artswalker, the moment we try to do flirting right, we lose the essence of connection, because flirting isn't performance, it's presence. When I stopped trying to impress and just started being me. Curious, quiet, thoughtful, that's when things finally felt right. She smiled more, I felt calmer, and our conversations stopped feeling like auditions. So no, flirting doesn't mean being someone you're not. It means showing who you are a little more boldly, a little more playfully, a little more open-hearted, and the science, it's there to back you up. How I practiced flirting without saying a word. Learning about the psychology of flirting changed my mindset, but changing my behavior, that took practice, especially for someone like me who overthinks everything. So I started small, everyday things, tiny moves that help me show interest without feeling fake. Habit 1, make eye contact for 3 seconds. At first, it was uncomfortable. I'd look someone in the eyes and immediately glance away like I got caught doing something wrong. But I challenged myself: 3 seconds, no more, just enough to be present. And slowly I noticed something. People responded. a smile, a nod. A spark of recognition. It wasn't about staring, it was about showing, I see you, I'm here. Habit 2, smile when you actually mean it. This one surprised me, because I used to fake smile out of politeness. But then I tried waiting, just half a second longer, until I felt the urge to smile naturally, not forced, not automatic, just a little warmth rising from inside. Suddenly, my smile landed differently. It was felt. Not just seen. Habit 3, compliment without expectation. I started saying things like, "Hey, I like your notebook. That's a cool playlist. Your laugh just made my day." And I didn't wait for a reaction. No pressure. No follow-up, just genuine appreciation said out loud. It made the space feel lighter. People opened up, and I didn't feel invisible anymore. Habit 4, practice micro-touch in safe, natural ways. Holding the door a second longer, lightly tapping someone's shoulder when I said, "Excuse me." Offering a handshake that lingered just enough to feel human. I wasn't invading anyone's space. But I was learning to take up just enough of it to be real. Touch, when done right, builds trust, not tension. Habit 5, dress with presence. Not for validation, not to impress, just to feel good in my own skin. I started picking outfits that made me stand straighter, colors that matched how I wanted to feel that day. I shaved. I wore cologne. I looked in the mirror and saw someone I respected. And somehow, that confidence translated even when I said nothing. Habit 6, play, laugh, tease gently. I stopped treating every interaction like a test. I started making space for fun. I cracked dry jokes. I poked fun at myself. I responded with, "Oh, really?" instead of "That's cool." And people laughed, not because I was a comedian, but because I was present. Humor disarms fear. And flirtation is more about shared energy than perfect words. Habit 7, stay rooted in myself. This was the hardest one, not trying to sound interesting, not trying to mirror someone else, just breathing, relaxing my shoulders, and letting silence be okay when I was fully present in my own skin. I didn't need to impress anyone, I just had to be, and that, more than any technique, is the kind of flirting people feel in their bones. These habits weren't magic, but they helped me show up in the world differently, and people started to respond, not because I changed who I was, but because I finally let them see me. Looking back, I used to think flirting was only for the bold, the smooth talkers, the naturally charming, the ones who always knew the right thing to say, but that wasn't true. Flirting at its core is just a gentle way of saying, "I'm open, I'm interested, I see you." And when done with honesty and care, it becomes less about getting something and more about offering presence, offering attention, offering connection. Not everyone will flirt the same way, and that's okay, because flirting isn't a formula. It's a reflection of who you are when you're just a little braver. So if you're someone like me, thoughtful, a bit awkward, full of feeling, know this. You don't need to be loud to be seen. You don't need to be perfect to be felt. You just need to let yourself show up, even if it's subtle, even if it's scary, even if your voice shakes a little. Because sometimes the smallest gestures can spark something big. So tell me, what's the most subtle way you show interest in someone? Leave a comment below. Let's learn from each other. And if this resonated with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay connected with High Day Psych. Because self-growth isn't just about looking inward. It's also about learning how to reach out, one soft glance at a time.